Hey, welcome everybody. I'm so glad to be able to spend a few minutes with you, talking with you, because this is such an exciting time. So, congratulations, you did it. We're coming out of a time like no other in history, one that required life and parenting skills in a balance like no other generations had to do in modern history, and you guys did it. So, I tell you what, so much has happened, and now we have students who are transitioning back to normal on their way out of the COVID experience. And that's a good thing. And we want to talk about how we can help our students do that effectively and get some tips and tools and things we can do in order to help make this successful. But, ladies, I think it's time to break out the lipstick because the masks are starting to probably come down a little bit more and more as we move into the future. And so, as we start relaxing on those things and we're able to kind of start to move into that, we're going to move into somewhat more of a normal realm. And so, it's a good time to be able to move into that and help our kids as well too. So, we're heading back to work now. And I don't mean just you and me. I mean our kids too. Our students have one job, and that is to prepare for a productive, independent life. And their education is a major part of that task. But they not only develop intellectually in school, but they develop emotionally and they have that developmental growth happen that all humans go through in that environment. Because the first stages of human development come when you're a toddler, when you're a baby or an infant, and that infant just connects with mother and gets some hope for the world. And then they take that hope and they carry it into toddlerhood. And toddlers start to experiment in some different ways and venture out, and they develop some confidence. And they take that confidence and they carry it into the school age years, where they expand into the educational environment, the community, and they begin to start learning and growing in that environment. Over the last year, our students and our kids, they haven't had that environment as much to learn in. It's unprecedented what has happened, but they haven't had the opportunities to create that level of consistent growth that was traveling right alongside most of our kids' educational experience. So, beyond infant and toddlers, developmental growth happens in social interactions. And those are social interactions as well, but these are in the community. That's why we know socialization is not optional. It's not an option whether or not we have this. This is something our kids absolutely need. They can develop the confidence now to carry forward, the confidence to move ahead and know they can be successful in the educational environment. And that's really what our goal is. As they begin to transition back into school, there's some things that really we need to pay attention to because learning requires academic development. They have to learn content and executive functioning, which is how they apply that content, turning in assignments, functioning day to day, all those different things that are surrounding the school environment. They are growing in, they're learning in. These are also very important in their overall development. But if they haven't been using it, then they've regressed a little bit and they need to gain some more skill. Their executive functioning is just like a muscle. And if we don't use a muscle for a while, we don't just automatically have it one day. We have to develop it and grow it and help make sure it's ready. And so they may need to rebuild some of the tools necessary for the school environment. Whether that be the opportunities for social and emotional growth, or whether it be some of the other things they come in contact with. Those social emotional things are important. Opportunities need to be there, and we may have to start giving them to them. So as they go back into school, even a couple days a week, they're going to have natural opportunities. But the more we can have them involved socially, and we can have them then interacting in these environments, the more we can help get up to speed a little bit too. And then they may need some brushing up on the executive functioning skills, like specifically how to study, prioritize, manage their time, organize. They may have lost some of those skills and need some help. And they may need some help remembering how to learn in person in a school environment. And so these are things we can help them do. Now, what can we expect? First of all, you can expect exhaustion from all the adjustment related stressors. Remember, some stress is good stress. A wedding is stressful, and that's a very good event. But we can expect that our kids are going to feel a level of exhaustion because they're overwhelmed in their systems with all the emotion and the energy of what's going on. We all have a capacity like a cup, and that capacity is how much stress we can handle. Now, if we are within the capacity, we can manage stress. But once we go over the top, we become dysregulated. Parts of the brain start shutting off that are important, and we begin to act out in certain ways. And so we have a limited capacity. And so transitions can be very, very difficult. And so we want to make sure our kids don't get flooded, but in fact, they do have that level of capacity available. Now, when we reach the top of that capacity, we see something similar to this. This is similar to anybody who's got an iPhone knows what this is. This is when your phone is reaching capacity for what it can do, all the tasks we've given it to do, and we get that spinning wheel while it catches up. We may see our kids coming home with that spinning wheel. We may see them coming back and just having that inability to function in a way that's really healthy. They may be acting out at home towards siblings, have a short fuse because they haven't been able to have that in the school. You know, it's safer to act out at home when you're in a new school environment. You're trying to fit in, you're trying to learn all the new protocols. It's safer to come home in those moments. So you may also see OCD behaviors, some kind of control behaviors in their environment if they're feeling like they're out of control in those environments in school as well too. You know, this is a lot easier to understand when you're talking about a physical issue. If they broke their arm and needed surgery and they were in a cast for a while, and then they needed physical therapy to rebuild their flexibility and function, it would make complete sense. But this is the same concept, only emotionally and developmentally, which those areas are unseen. But we can see the impact from those areas in the way we see our students function, and we can help them build back up. And that's what we're talking about. How do we do that? And so, what else can we expect? We can expect emotions ranging from excitement to be back with their friends, back to quote normal, or possibly anxiety, sadness, or even resistance. Students are back in school at some level in many places right now, and teachers are telling me, "Look, they're clinging to my leg, and they're just so happy to be there and so appreciative." Those are wonderful things. They're wonderful experiences for our kids, but we have to realize and remember that they're in this environment, they're growing, and they're going to have this range of emotion with it. They could have anxiety over wondering if they're going to be able to fit in, wondering if they're going to be able to function, wondering if they have the skills to really be successful in school again. So they may lack a little confidence, and these are things we can kind of help them develop and grow. So, what can we do? First of all, be proactive. In other words, it's like preventative. Before there's a problem, what can we do? Flip the script. We just don't need to maintain the negative narratives. You know, negative always violates the norm of what's positive. And that's why we're drawn to it as people. You know, I guarantee you, you didn't wake up this morning and say, man, my right arm feels amazing. No, we're drawn to the negative. What we feel is violating. So again, we're drawn to the negative. And so we don't want to draw attention to the negative of what's going on when there's a lot of positive happening. We want to make sure we're focusing on the strengths of education, what they can accomplish, how they're going to grow coming out of COVID. You know, and that may mean we have to practice some media hygiene too, because the media knows we're drawn to the negative. And so it's very easy to find negative information. We can flip that script and we can begin to start to let them have that confidence, build on confidence, and create a culture of confidence around them through some of those things we can change and do. Now, what else can we do? We can focus on their strengths. Whatever we feed will grow. If we are constantly correcting, then we can really cause our students to not have confidence as much as saying, this is really good. Let's build on that. Way you did this was amazing. Those are really good things we can do. Catch them doing things right. Those little micro successes. Look for small successes that they can build upon. These are the things that are important when we're really moving in that direction into the things that are positive and giving them hope in what they can accomplish. Meeting them right where they are, pointing out the strength of where they are, and helping them grow past it. That's what we want to focus on. Then we can invest in the relationship. A relationship is a bridge into our kids' lives. That's what the bridge is. Now, the more strength the bridge has, the more information we can get across that bridge. So we want to spend time with our kids, build some rituals, maintain proactive connection, have rituals. Go get ice cream with them on Fridays, or meet them certain times and do certain activities with them. Whatever those things are, build those rituals, build that relationship, and have that connection to your kids. It makes all the difference in the world because you cannot build an airplane while you're flying. When you need that bridge because they're in crisis or having a difficult time, you can't build it at that time. You have to build it before then. So then we can rebuild and maintain strong foundations. You're thinking, okay, strong foundations. What are those foundations? So these are some things we all need to thrive, all of us. And these are the foundations that we can help them build to be successful moving into the next season of the return to normal. Restful sleep is one of them. Sleep is one of the best things you can do for brain function. Brain growth occurs while you're sleeping. When we try to learn something new, the brain marks that spot and says, we're going to develop here and build some strength here. And then while we sleep, it builds it. So, sleep and rest is powerful for the mind and it creates healthy function in the brain. So, it's really important we get that restful sleep. And then, nourishing food. Proper fuel for our body makes all the difference in the world when we're trying to get the body and the mind to function at the highest level. And then, one thing we need for emotional stability is predictability and control. Those are critical. And this is something we have not had much of over the last year. Predictability and control help us create some sort of anticipation about life and create us an opportunity for us and a way for us to move ahead that is powerful and easy for us to be able to continue to grow and develop and to maintain control and move into the future. Predictability and control are so important. And now we can begin to build that again as we start to regain more of that control back again. We also need emotional management skills. So, how do our kids manage strong emotions? How do they balance those things? These are skills we can teach and start building the foundation of so they realize when they feel off, when they have an off moment, they can get through it. And then adequate exercise. Exercise is critical. It is critical for us to be able to focus on that time of activity, just getting the activity and moving. When we are stuck staring at a screen or we're stuck looking at a book and our kids are trying so hard to focus, just getting up and spreading out our vision, going for a walk makes all the difference. Moving your body through space, through just moving, walking, running, biking, swimming. When we do those activities and we move, our eyes go back and forth. They start to look across things, and we can get a lot of different strength and refreshment just from moving those things and just moving forward. That's how powerful our eyes are. Now, we're talking about the eyes. Obviously, that this is kind of like the iPhone when you get into what we call portrait mode. Portrait mode focuses on one object and blurs everything else out. And we can do that. We can focus and be successful in academic tasks for a certain amount of time. But after a short amount of time, we begin to get at capacity. And if we haven't used it in a long time, like our students may not have, they're not going to have as long of a capacity as might be expected. So recognizing that and realizing, okay, we need to expand this capacity so our kids, our students can be successful. That makes all the difference in the world. So we get into that mode and suddenly we start to struggle. What we can do is just get up, take a break, and switch modes on the camera into landscape mode. As we get out, spread out our environment, look across the horizon as we kind of are able to walk through the streets, looking left and right, we are able to reset that part of the brain and be prepared and to move forward and again begin to develop some of the things that we were lacking, some of the things that we were missing. So these things are really powerful things we can do to help our students be successful in all these environments. Now, what are some common threats of strong foundations? Let's talk about some of them. First of all, lack of exercise. If we're not moving, if we're not getting our body up and moving, that can be problematic. The body's designed to move. So we have to kind of build that in as a discipline if it doesn't come naturally. And then sleep problems. Again, electronics can keep kids awake. What are the things that may cause them struggles? We need to make sure they have good sleep hygiene, that they can have a good routine to be able to get to sleep. Also, stress and dysregulation. If they're dysregulated emotionally and they're off, or they're feeling stress and anxiety, that can make a big difference because it's very hard to sleep and function. It's very hard to have good, solid movement in different areas when we have that level of stress. Hard to focus and grow and learn proactively and productively when we're almost in crisis emotionally. And for many, many reasons, one of which is that the part of the brain that gets active in those times is the fight, flight, and freeze center of the brain. And when that part is active, the front of the brain, which is responsible for rational thinking, decision making, memory, that turns off completely. So when we're dysregulated and we're anxious or worried, our brain is not functioning in the areas that it needs most in order to make good decisions and to learn. Another thing is processed foods. Again, eating foods that are healthy is critical. And we want to watch out for shame and fear. I put shame on here because it's easy for us to discipline behavior of our kids, but without attacking who they are. We want to make sure we're not creating that environment of shame where they feel like they're losing confidence in who they are. We can correct what they do without causing that difficulty for them. And we want them to not walk around in fear if we can. Fear can paralyze, fear can cause a significant struggle for them as they move ahead. We want to try to help them work through that as well. So what can we do if difficulties arrive? Something happens. They're having a tough time. First of all, listen carefully. Just listen. Listen to what they're saying and really try to feel with them. And that's what empathy is. Feel with them. Put yourself in their shoes. What's it like for them in this moment? And let me add, feel with their teachers. They are on the front lines of this difficulty and they have every intention to help your learner be successful. So if you're empathic toward your student, empathic toward the teacher, you're going to communicate in a way that is highly effective at accomplishing the task of clearing up any difficulties. So try to feel with them and put yourself in their shoes as you communicate. And after that moment, respond. Don't do the initial reaction. The emotional initial reaction most of us have is not helpful at all. But again, just respond. Make those moments intentional with responding. And then set and maintain boundaries. Boundaries are important. Boundaries for our students are really critical, and they thrive in environments where there's boundaries. If you've ever driven in the mountains, you know what I'm talking about because there's like road signs where the speed limit's like 7. You're thinking, who goes 7? And then you realize 7's way too fast for that road. But every once in a while, the guardrail disappears, and I get really nervous. Now, I've never hit a guardrail, but when that guardrail comes back, I get more confident on the road and more comfortable because I know there's something there that can stop me from going down that path into destruction on the other side of that guardrail. You know, the guardrails and the boundaries we set up for our kids tell them that. Have as much fun on the road of life as you want, but there's danger. There's things and regrets you're going to have on the other side here. Set those boundaries, those structures, so they can cruise through life. They can enjoy life. They can explore academically. They can explore in these times, and they can have the confidence that they're going to do it safely because the boundaries in place. The happiest kids I see are kids with strong boundaries and structure. So have those boundaries in place, set and maintain them the best you can. Now, let's talk about empowering your learner. What are some things we can do to make sure our kids are empowered? What are some things we can do to make sure they're successful in this moment? First of all, focus on positive progress. The successes they had over the last year, coming out of COVID, wherever they are right now, focus on that positive and help them move forward. And then even normalize the difficulty. In other words, this is difficult. It's okay to not feel okay. It's okay to feel awkward in school when you're wearing a mask, or it's okay that your teacher spoke with you about violating one of the safety protocols because you forgot about it. That's okay. It's okay to not feel okay in this moment. And so normalize that so that it's not a taboo thing. It's not something that is a hindrance that they get caught up on. And then help them to redevelop routines. More than likely, they did not have the same routines necessary for going to school on a regular basis during the time they were not in school. I can't imagine that was happening. If it was, kudos to you, but really difficult to motivate in those moments as well too. But effective routines create predictability and control. Again, transition times. When you come home, do this. Bedtimes, waking up, fitness, health, their planners, studying, homework, backpack overhauls. All of those things start to get a routine in place for those things. It can make all the difference in the world. One of the things we did with our kids that was really helpful was we decided that the day would start at night. So before they go to bed at night, going through the entire structure of their day and then laying out the clothes they want to wear, checking the weather, making sure they're ready. What do they have up coming up that day? What's after school? Getting everything in place. And then the first thing they do every day is go to sleep. So they go to sleep at a certain time. That's the start of their next day. And then they wake up. Second thing they do is start their morning routine. That way, everything's in place. They don't have to make last minute decisions while under pressure, pressed for time. And it gives them a lot of confidence and margins moving forward so they don't feel overwhelmed by little variables that come up. So those type of routines can be very helpful. Protect their focus. It's really important to kind of set them up in an environment where they can maintain their level of focus and sustain the tasks that they have to do to be successful. And then create and reward small goals. It's like when you're running a race and the finish line seems like forever. Just make it to the next street. Just make it to the next street after that. Those little milestones, those little goals make a big difference. And when we can have those small goals that we can reward, brain chemicals inside our students will fire and they're going to feel successful and they're going to feel happy. And that gives them new energy. It resets the clock on their level of attention to be able to accomplish tasks. So there's a lot of power in creating small goals for our students and develop time management techniques so they understand realistically how long these things take so they can start mapping those things out again to make sure they are prepared, to make sure they have enough space and cushion in their schedule. And again, those organizational systems, what do they do? How do they keep track of things? How do they label things? Will they use some kind of electronic calendar or the planner or folders or backpacks? Or, what kind of space will they have dedicated for studying? How can they personalize that space? All of those things to organize those systems will help get that predictability and control up and running and help them be successful as well. And then helping them prioritize what's really most important. Making sure they get done the things they need to get done and then taking the time to do the things that they want to do when they can. And then encouraging the completion of tasks as well. That finishing things and working through them and getting to that place and then taking those breaks and having those milestones is a really good thing. Even areas where they may have had some mistakes, teach them to reflect and solve future problems with lessons learned. What did you learn from this? What can you take back? Just take back from that. What can you step away from it, look at it and say, in the future, this is how I'm going to handle that. Learn those things and take them away and have those areas of growth, and demonstrate and encourage emotional regulation and self-care. Again, how do they manage their emotions? Demonstrating those things. Yeah, you had a difficult day, but you made it. You got through it. You did this. You were able to make it through. Good job. Tomorrow's another day. Tell your kids if they hit a home run today, tomorrow's a new day. If they struck out 3 times today, tomorrow's a new day. They can't be caught up in the past. They can't be caught up in the things they can't change. You can't change what happened yesterday. You can only live in the now, live in this moment, and do the very best you can with the moments you have in front of you. And then help them create ownership. In other words, what can they own? What can they have as far as their experience? What's important about this is because when they have ownership and control over something, any task, then they own the consequence, whether it's positive or negative. This allows you to have a supportive role in their life. How can I help you be successful? How can I come alongside you and help you get through this task? You don't have to be the one who forces control. You don't have to be the one that is always the heavy making them do these things. You can be the one who helps reward those things and helps them get through that moment. And finally, above all, no, not above all, take a trip to the islands. That's not what this is. But if you want to, go for it. My email address is also here, so let me know. However, what you can do is what they say on the airplane is simply take that oxygen mask, put it on yourself, and then help your child. Because if you're unconscious in the airplane, you can't help your child. So in this case, take care of you. Take care of yourself. Do everything you can to put yourself in a healthy place that you have enough capacity to handle all of your stuff and whatever things come home from school. So congratulations, you did it. You've got this. I'm so excited about the opportunity your kids are going to have, our kids are going to have to get back in school and get back in the sync of things. If there's anything we can do to support you, please reach out. Be glad to help. God bless.